My paranormal experiences started when I was about 4 years old. I was living in a town called Bainbridge, Georgia. I had my mother and my father and my two sisters. We all lived together in this 3-bedroom house. One night, I had an experience where my closet door came open. It was in the middle of the night. I was wide awake. I'm pretty sure that's actually what woke me. I look over. I'm seeing these things kind of coming out of the floor inside the closet that look like green smoke. And I remember distinctly one being a large mouth, just a mouth, kind of coming out of the closet and biting down in the midair and just kind of disappearing. So I was really freaked out. I was 4 years old and had my own room. So it was a big deal and really couldn't believe my eyes at first. In my little head, I'm thinking, I gotta be dreaming. But next thing you know, the secondary character, I guess if you want to call it a character, whatever it was, starts floating up from the floor of the closet. And I wanted to scream, but I was too scared to move. There was this old looking lady in a rocking chair, and she's just staring at me, and she's moving up slowly, a little bit at a time, but she stayed in the closet, but still moving up and just kind of disappeared as she went, through the ceiling. And at that point, I was freaked out. I hid under my covers and I didn't know what to do. My only options were to stay under the covers or to run. I wanted to run to my parents' room. Now, my sister's room, it was right next door to mine. As you walk in the hallway of our house, my room was the first room on the right, closest to the living area. My sister's room was the second room on the right. And my parents, well, theirs was the one all the way down on the end to the left. And before theirs on the left was the bathroom. So I decided in my head, I need to get to my dad. My dad was my hero. He was like everything to me. And I knew that if I could make it to him, I was going to be safe. Well, I look back out from under my covers, just, I guess, to kind of double check, what's going on. Is it getting close to me? And I'm still seeing these figures come up, some of them coming out. I can't remember exactly what the rest of them were, but I do recall still seeing this happening. Went back up under my covers to kind of give myself a moment to muster up the courage to get up and run. Now, the way my bed was, when you walked in my room, my bed was immediately to the left. The head of the bed was, on the same wall as the door that you walked in, and the closet's on the right. And it was these double doors, those doors that you pull on and they kind of fold in together and they open that way. So in order for me to run out of that room, my room, I had to run right past that closet. And that's what really scared me. But I mustered up the courage and I took off like as fast as I could go. I bolted to the right out of my door, ran, grabbed my parents' doorknob, opened it, ran and jumped on my dad and mom's bed. And my dad woke up, or he may have been awoke, but I'm not sure. But I got to him and I was like, Dad, there's ghosts in my room. There's ghosts coming out of my closet. And then the way their room is set up is when you walk in, their closet's on your right, the same wall as the door that you walk in. And their bed is on the opposite wall, the head of the bed on that wall. So if you're laying on their bed, their closet, if you're looking straight down the bed at your feet, their closet is the same kind of closet. And that's where their closet is. Well, I look over and I happen to see the same exact thing happening in his closet. Now, I was scared, surprised, but not as scared because still I had my dad. He was my hero. And I said, Dad, do you see them? Do you see them? And he says, yes, son, just close your eyes. Close your eyes. Don't look at them. Just close your eyes. And that's all I remember from that experience. Now, as I got older, I would bring this up every now and then and talk to my mom about it and talk to my dad about it. And I asked him, like, Dad, do you remember that? Because it's so crazy that you would think that it's a dream. I had to be dreaming at that age, but, I remember vividly all this happening. And my dad, he confirmed it. He's like, yes, son, I remember. That's one of the reasons why we moved out of that house. Because apparently there was other things that happened, but I was never told about them. And my mom, she definitely didn't want to tell us about it because she didn't want it to freak us out. So, yeah, that was my first paranormal experience. And my second paranormal experience, that started when I was an adult. I was about 26 at the time. I was going through a divorce. I got married, didn't work out, and I wound up moving back to Bainbridge. Different house, totally different house. My parents, they'd split up and everything, and my mom, she was living at this place right up the street from this new place that I moved into. I was living there with my sister. We really couldn't afford to have our own places at the time because she was kind of having it rough, and I had just gotten divorced, and I really needed a place, and we decided, okay, well, let's move in together here, and you get this end of the house, and then I get that end of the house, and it was a single wide trailer, 3-bedroom. Well, I'm laying in bed, I'm asleep, and I'm all the way at the other end of the trailer, right? Very last room. And all of a sudden, frozen, but I'm floating, and I'm being pulled up. Now, I know what people are probably thinking. Oh, that's one of those, not paranormal things, but that's the sleep paralysis. No, I'm going to explain later on why that's not what this was. But anyways, I'm floating, start to go through the ceiling. I can't see up. I'm facing down, but I know I'm moving through the ceiling. The next thing I know, I'm outside and it's dark. The street light that was right there in our yard, this security light, if you will. And I can see the dew on the grass. I can smell the outside. I know I'm outside. I can't move. I'm being pulled up higher and higher. And scared isn't the word I would use. Petrified. But unable to move. Unable to do anything. I can't even turn my head to look and see what is pulling me. And then it cuts to black. I don't remember after that. I wake up the next day and I'm thinking, wow, it's a really crazy dream, I guess. Was it a dream? Had to be a dream. Couldn't be anything else, right? Well, later on, same thing happens again. This goes on over and over, once or twice a month for about 2 years. And I'm going to tell you the ones that I do remember. The ones that I don't really remember, I remember very little, so it'd be like me telling you the same kind of thing over and over, but not all of them happen the same. But when it did happen, I knew when it happened. And it got to the point where I was going crazy trying to figure out the answers to all this. But the second time it happened, we moved out of that place, found a different place in a little town called Faceville, Georgia, not far from Bainbridge. So it's a new house, same situation though. Me and my sister, we found a different trailer, but the same situation as before. She's on one end, I'm on the other. I got the last room all the way down at the end. She's got the master bedroom on the other end. So I'm thinking, all right, we moved out of that house. Maybe whatever was in that house is what caused that to happen. Maybe there was a demon there or a spirit. Glad to get away from that place. Well, about a week, maybe two, I go to sleep one night. I wake up and my vision, like I'm in the midair, maybe 2, 3 feet off my bed, and I'm seeing myself rotate. Now, I'm not looking at myself. I'm seeing through my own eyes, but I can hear the TV on in the living room for my sister being up late watching TV, and the hall light was still on. And I can see every time I turn in my room where the cracks of the door were, the hall light going by. And I'm spinning. Not fast, but I'm spinning. I can't move. The only thing I can move is just my finger, my pointer finger on my right hand. And I'm trying like heck to scream to get my sister's attention. Maybe she can help me, but nothing's coming out. I black out. And now to this point where I'm really getting scared, nervous about whatever is going on with me, like I want to figure this out. I want to know what's happening. I go to my sister. I tell her this. She doesn't know what to say. She doesn't know what to tell me. She, at the time, probably thought maybe I was just having a bad dream, or maybe Jess is losing his marbles. I'm not sure, but I kind of just try to forget about it. Maybe it is a dream. Maybe this isn't really happening. Well, one day I'm walking down the hallway, and my other sister's there to visit. I come walking down the hallway, and I see my other sister sitting on the couch. And she looks up at me, and she has this shocked look on her face. Like she's very surprised. And I'm thinking maybe I just spooked her because she didn't know I was coming back from the hallway or whatever. This is my first time seeing her since she's been there on this particular visit. She doesn't say anything, but I can see there's like this weirdness about her. Well, the next day she tells me, Jess, I saw something walking behind you, this dark shadow figure, big dark shadow figure walking right behind you when you came out of the hallway. And right when I saw it, it kind of disappeared, just was gone. I thought that was pretty crazy, but I just brushed it off like she probably saw my shadow and just, maybe she thought she saw something. Well, I'll tell you how that kind of hooks into my hypothesis of what it was. Time goes by, a couple weeks. I go to visit my mom. Now, my mom, she's still living at the same place where she lived up the road from the last place I lived, but she was out at their property on the lake. They had this little bit of land with this nice RV. They had it out there on Lake Seminole over in Seminole County. I go to visit, just for a night. There's this pull-out couch that they have in their RV, or camper, I should say. There's a master bedroom on one end. My mom and my stepdad are sleeping there. I go sleep on the pull-out couch. Now, the way this pull-out couch is, I don't know if you've ever slept on a pull-out couch, but it has this frame, this like round tubing frame that the mattress lays on. The way I slept on it was my feet at the end of the couch cushions, and my head was at the other end. So normally where you would sit is where my feet would be and my head towards the other way. Anyways, wake up in the middle of the night and I'm slightly floating. I'm not up very high because, I could feel the bed up under me, but I'm moving and I'm frozen and I'm being pulled towards the wall of the camper. And I know in my head, I don't know why I knew, but I knew I'm about to go through this wall and I need to stop it. I'm not thinking at the time, what happened before with going through the ceiling at the first time this all happened, but I just knew, like, I'm about to go through this wall. And as I'm being pulled, my foot catches that tubing, the frame of the bed. The mattress wasn't exactly square on it. It was kind of slid to the side, I guess, a little bit. And it was my left foot catches the frame of the bed, and I can feel it. I can feel the pressure on my foot, and I'm thinking, help me, somebody help me. But again, I can't do anything. And my face is right there at the wall. And I know I do not want to go on the other side of this wall. I black out. Wake up the next morning. It really doesn't hit me at first until later on that day. And oh yeah, that happened last night. Pull my sock off my foot, and there's a definite mark there. It's not really, really red, or it's not bruised yet, but there's a mark there. And it did turn into a bruise after a couple days. Not a big one, but it definitely a significant bruise. Well, at this point, I'm really freaking out. I know I've got some proof, at least to me, evidence that this is happening. So I go to my mom. I would have gone to my dad, but he's already passed away at this point. He passed when I was 19. So I go to my mom, tell her, Mom, this has been happening. I don't know what to do. I don't know if it's even real. I feel like I'm going crazy. It feels real, and it keeps happening. My mom says a little prayer over me, and trying to pray with her. Mostly just stayed silent. I wasn't really into praying so much at the time. And after she says her prayer, she doesn't really say much. She doesn't really say she believes me. I'm hoping she believes me, but anyways, I go back home. A couple weeks go by. Again, wake up in the middle of the night. I'm off the bed. I'm frozen. Can't see anything. I never saw anything, by the way. I never did get a look at whatever it was. But I know something's there. I can't move. I try to scream. I try to do anything, and I cannot move. Black out. A couple more weeks go by. I'm at my house. Kind of late at night. I decide, I'm really hungry. I want to go into town, get something to eat. There's no gas stations or anything close by that's open in this small town of Fayetteville. There's really nothing there. So I go to walk out to my car. Now, my car stayed parked in this, it's kind of like a carport. You could park 4 cars in this thing, but there's no walls. It's just a roof, a solid tin roof with 4x4 posts on a concrete slab. And where this place is, it's out in the middle of nowhere. It's on a dirt road. We do have a neighbor over there, but it's an elderly couple, and their house is at least 300 yards away. There's no one else really around. Anyways, I'm walking to the carport. I get to my car. It's parked on the right side of the carport, not deep into the carport, because, you could park 4, 2 on one side, front to end, 2 on the other. So mine's kind of like in that first space on the right-hand side. I get to my car door. I open it. And before I can get in, bam, 2 bright lights hit me right in front of me. And it was maybe about 15 to 20 feet away from the carport itself, where my car's pointing on the other side of it. I don't hear anything. I just see 2 bright lights. And for some reason at the time, I'm thinking it's somebody's pulling a prank. Somebody's doing something, trying to stir me up. But these lights aren't coming from a vehicle. They're high off the ground. They're right below the roof of this carport. And they are bright, and I don't hear anything. But in the moment, I get angry because I'm thinking it's a person. I cut my lights on in my car. I had this Acura at the time. I turn my brights on, and I start yelling. I start cussing. I start walking towards these lights. And as I'm walking towards these lights, I don't even know what I was saying, but I was threatening whoever it was. I'm about to whoop you and this and that. I get to the end of the carport, and then all of a sudden it hits me. Stop. Don't go any further. You are in danger. Don't step off the concrete slab, Jess, because you will not like what happened. Now, I'm not getting a voice in my head. I'm getting this feeling like almost like I hit a brick wall. Like, you better stop. So I do. And then all of a sudden this panic takes over because I then realize there's no noise. There's no motor running. And where these lights are, there's really no way to get back there with any kind of vehicle. The only explanation it could be is somebody climbed the tree or one of the trees that sits off to the side of this carport. It's about 20 feet away to 30 feet away, and has strapped two spotlights up there, the brightest spotlights I've ever seen. But bam, turned them on both at the same time to pull some prank. But in my head, I'm realizing that doesn't make any sense. I don't have any friends that would do something like that. We don't really have any neighbors except this old elderly couple, and the husband's in a wheelchair. And I start to realize I need to back away and I need to get inside my house. I turn around, I go inside, I call the police. I get the dispatch on the phone and I said, ma'am, I'm at this address. I've got somebody or something in my yard and it's got these bright lights on me. And I don't know what it is. I don't know who they are, but I need you to send a deputy out here, please. Deputy comes, but before they can get there, the lights disappear. You know, I'm inside and I'm peeking out the window every so often, and the lights stay there for at least a few minutes. But a couple minutes before they got there, the lights are gone. Just gone. And I wish I'd have stayed outside to see, where these lights went to. Did they disappear? Did they drive off somewhere? Or did they float away? At least I would have that little bit more of information, because deputies got there, they pull up, they see me, I point over to where I was standing at the carport and said, look over there, somebody's over there with some lights and they've been shining them on me. And I kind of fibbed to them because I didn't want to sound crazy, and I was like, and they were shining them on my house, but it wasn't. It was just on me. Well, they drive their car right over to the carport. It's not far away from the house, but it's about maybe 50 yards or so. They turn their spotlight on. They look, there's nothing there. Nothing. And I'm standing there looking like a fool because they want to know why I called them all the way out to my house for nothing. But they brush it off as, well, maybe some kids running around with a couple of spotlights shining deer or something, and maybe they just wanted to play a prank on you. And in my head, I'm thinking, there's no way. These lights were too high up in the air for two kids to be holding. So anyways, they finally leave. The next day, I go out to investigate. I walk over there, and there's no track marks in the grass. The grass was kind of tall over there, so you would see if somebody walked over there. You would see if there was any tire marks or anything like that. It would be easy to see. And there's nothing. There's no bent over grass leaves. There's nothing. That really freaked me out. Really freaked me out. Now, another time, which wasn't long after this, going down the road, and my neighbor's gator, he had this little gator or mule, whatever you want to call it, a little, kind of like an ATV. A lot of people that are from the country will know what I'm talking about. And it's, it's nighttime, and I'm just riding along. It's maybe 11 o'clock at night, and I would do this every now and then, just out of boredom. I like to do it. I like the sound of the night, and I like to see the moon and the stars. I like to see what things look like outside at night. It's fun. I'm going down the road, not too far from the house, and all of a sudden, I see this bright light that looked like a fireball, but without any flames. It was just like a bright ball streaked right over me. And it was going down the road that I was going down it straight down it. And it was fast. It was maybe 50 feet in the air or so. It was right above the power lines. And I see it zoom by. There's no noise, there's no sound, but I see it. It was so bright as it was traveling, it lit up the road and any trees that was nearby as it went by. That freaked me out. I went straight home, brought the gator to my buddy's house the next day. He lived a couple miles up the road the other way. Not too long after that, another instance where I wake up in the middle of the night, frozen, can't move. And this goes on for about 2 years in total, once to 2 times a month. And every time it would happen, I would tell my sister and I would tell my mom. So that way, I don't know, I had to tell somebody. If I was going crazy, I was going crazy, but I knew I wasn't. At this point, I knew I wasn't. And one night, I'm sitting in my room, and all of a sudden my sister yells, "Jess, Jess." I get up and I run to the other end of the house, and I hear this noise like a child's toy. And my sister's sitting on her bed, and she's got this wide look in her eyes, and she's pointing to her bathroom. And she's saying, "Do you hear that?" And I said, "Yeah, what is that?" "There's this noise coming from up underneath the bathroom sink." And she's pointing at it. So I go walking over to the bathroom sink, and before I get to it, the noise had stopped. I open the cabinet right up under the sink, and there's nothing in there except toilet paper. Just toilet paper. And I look back at my sister, and I'm, "What in the world? What's that noise?" She says, "I don't know, but I heard it, and I looked earlier, and I didn't see anything, so I closed the cabinet, got back on my bed, and it started doing it again." And it sounded like just some electronic toy that a child, like a 2 or 3-year-old would have. Well, I stick my head back into the cabinet to get a better look. Maybe I'm overlooking something here. There's nothing. And then I notice up high inside the cabinet, there's crayon markings, like scribbles, kinda, in these weird shapes. I look at my sister and I say, "Hey, look at this." She sticks her head under the sink and she's seeing these crayon markings, these weird shapes. Now, is it that related to it? I don't know. But I can tell you this, there was no kids' toys laying around. We still, to this day, don't know what it was. Now, a few more weeks go by, and the last time that I was ever, I say attacked, demonically attacked. This is the last time it happened. The very last time that ever happened. I'm just about to go to bed. I go turn my light off. And in this room, my closet, the way the room is, when you walk in, my closet is to the left of the wall. My bed is on the wall in the corner on the right-hand side. So the head of the bed would be on the outer wall. And if you were laying on the bed, you would look to the right and see the closet on that wall. And if you look straight down at your feet, that would be the wall where the doorway is when you walk in. And the bed is up against the wall to the left. There's this window. Well, anyways, I go and lay down on the bed. My closet door is closed because I kind of got into that habit since I was a kid to close the closet door. I go to lay down on the bed, and I'm laying there, and I just lay down. It always takes me a while to fall asleep. at least 15 minutes, at the very least 15 minutes. Well, I'm not laying there maybe a minute, 2 minutes, and I get this feeling like something comes over me. I'm laying on my stomach with my head turned to the right, and I feel like something is walking up to my bed that is not good, something dark, something evil. And in my head, I'm thinking, there's nothing there, Jess. There's nothing that you need to turn your head to look at. You're a grown man. You're not a boy. You're tough. Just go to sleep. A second or two later, I start to float. Now I'm wide awake, and I start to float. I got my hands crossed up under my head. I get about a foot, maybe a foot and a half off the bed. And for some reason, I never thought to do this before. I don't know why I thought to do it this time, but I start to try and say the name Jesus. I try, I can't get anything out. I can barely get the J out as a whisper, just a ja. I try again. Ja. Third time, I tried with everything I had, and I barely got the name out. It was just Jesus. All of a sudden, bam, it drops me. I hit my bed, and I bounce up with my fist balled up, ready to fight. Because for 2 years, this has driven me crazy to the point to where I wanted to be awake and I wanted to get my hands on whatever this thing was that was, to me, wreaking havoc in my life, driving me crazy. But I bounce up, I turn my light on, I don't see anything. I grab my mattress and throw it up against the wall like something's going to be up under my bed. Grab the box spring, throw it up against the wall. Nothing. I run over to the closet, throw the door open, and in my head I'm thinking, just let me get my hands on it. Just let me get my hands on it. Well, I never got my hands on it, but that was the last time anything like that ever happened. The last time. That was my real confirmation, because I wasn't asleep. Therefore, I wasn't dreaming. I was wide awake. Only thing that saved me was saying his name, Jesus. Ever since then, I have stayed away from anything that would draw something negative like that into my life. And ever since then, it has never happened. That's my paranormal experiences.
If you've had a paranormal experience and would like to be a guest on the show, please contact us by going to myparax.com. That's myparaex.com. Thanks for listening.